predicament. John and Harry pounded on the door with all their might. The door resisted. They did it again. Sarah said, "What are you doing?" "The hunters have caught their attention and are coming towards you at speed." I shouted, "Break the lock with a bullet." Jill shot at the lock and the door opened with a bang. I said, "Damn it." Everyone turned their heads. The hunters were standing at the beginning of the corridor, hesitant, looking at each other. Harry passed the door and looked up the stairs and said, "It's safe. Let's go quickly." John said, "They will reach us, we have no choice but to destroy them. And if not, we will be destroyed ourselves." The hunters attacked us with their mouths open. We all started shooting together and at the same time. They were tougher than we imagined. Jill shot them in the legs, which knocked them off balance. And they fell to the ground a few steps away from us. I shot them with the magnum. The hunters lay motionless on the ground. Their awe was truly terrifying. It was unclear from which hellish valley they had emerged. Powerful, muscular hind legs that reached to nails like daggers, and long arms with sharp, deadly claws. Fangs on the bottom and top like a large vice that, when locked, left no way to escape. I was frozen in place. Elizabeth patted my shoulder and said, "Hurry up. Let's go." We started climbing the stairs and instead of the 5th floor, we went to the 6th floor. We entered the floor. There was a trail of blood on the floor that stretched for a long distance. John knelt down and tested it with his fingertip and said, "It's fresh, it hasn't been long." Jill said to Sarah over the radio, "From now on, it's no joke. Be careful of every movement and also keep an eye on the door of the control room and the director of the asylum. It is not known what we will encounter." Sarah replied, "Sure. Stefan is watching the valley and I will not take my eyes off the monitor for a moment. The killing of the hunters has caused 2 more to go to their death site. Watch out for what is behind you." I said, "Look at the predicament we are in." Jill said, "You agreed to come. Now instead of whining you better concentrate and don't do anything to yourself or us." I said, "I did it myself, damn me." John said, "We need to find the owner of this trail. He may be alive." I asked, "Are you sure it is human?" Yes, we set off in search of the blood trail. Just as we had come to the blood trail, the hunters must have also followed the blood trail. The blood trail was in the form of drops and thin in some places and wider in others. The owner was bleeding profusely and it was not clear if he had survived. Red reached a closed door. Harry and I stood on either side of the door. Jill placed the flashlight that John had given her back on her chest and turned it on. John and Jill were in front of the door ready to attack. I slowly pushed the handle down. The door opened with a creak. Harry pushed the door open with his hand. John and Jill quickly entered the room. Jill said, "My God." I asked, "What happened?" "It's terrible. There is no light in the room. I can't see anything." I stepped into the room and walked a little forward. Something stepped under my foot. I said, "Jill, put the light under my foot." What was that I stepped on? As soon as the flashlight fell on it, I jumped back like a spark at the sight of what I had stepped on. It was a severed and bloody hand of a human being. I said, "Damn. Damn." I stormed out of the room. I was throwing up. Jill said, "I think we found the missing people from the asylum." Elizabeth said, "Fuck it.